Are you showing me a picture?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Aaron, Katie, second. Any questions on the agenda? No? Okay to vote? All those in favor of approving the agenda? 7-0. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few updates. Our spring sports season is well underway. We're having a very successful season. Just a couple of our team records. Our baseball varsity team is 12-1. Boys and girls lacrosse are both 7-5. So congratulations to them. Look forward to all three of those teams making the playoffs this year. You may have recall in the budget there's the replacement of the Nexus bus program, and an upcoming meeting we'll take some time to go deeper into that Nexus program. But the Nexus program is really a unique opportunity in the school district for students during the course of the school day to do community service in local not-for-profits. And one of the places that they go to do community service is the Bite-A-Wee. And congratulations to those Nexus kids. They just completed a biscuit drive for the dogs, and they have collected over 50 boxes of food for the dogs at the Bite-A-Wee. So we will take some time to share with the board a little more about the Nexus program. I'd like to also congratulate the young artists at the Wading River School. I went to the art open house, and the teacher, Mrs. Petrozelli, an amazing job in the building. The art show was fabulous. It was a full house, lots of parents there. The student performance was great, so congratulations to the building and to the students for the great art projects. Last Thursday night and Friday night, another Broadway caliber theater production at the high school. It was my pleasure to watch the theater students put on the Curious Savage. The play was on the stage with the seats on the stage, so great job to them. Another wonderful performance. And finally, tonight we have a couple of presentations. Tonight we have our final, I want to call it budget workshop, budget hearing before the budget vote on May 15th. And also in the budget is a proposed expansion of the Women in Science and Engineering program. This year was the pilot year, and so some of our young lady scientists from that program are here tonight with their teacher to share with the board their experiences. So thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, opportunities for board members. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to attend a design meeting for the high school for 2009 for work to be done in the summer of 2019. We discussed the main office reconfiguration, as well as the renovation to the cafeteria and the high school bus loop. So it looks like the plans are almost completed. I think everyone had some really good input on some of the designs, and I think with that, yeah. Sorry.
Summer 18 for that work, or 19?
What's that? Summer of 2019. I'm sorry. Did I say 18?
I thought you said 19.
No,
but
summer 2019.
Oh.
Yeah. So the thought is to go up to SED in July and bid around January. So.
Great, thank you.
Is there
Sorry.
is there the opportunity, I guess, for the public to see it, or are the plans already? Is it the last presentation that was given to us at the board meeting?
I think there'll probably be one more presentation of the final approved plan for the bus loop. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is that fair to say?
Final version was chosen?
Yes, and we'll update the board in an update as to what's going up to state ed.
Mike, when was the final version chosen of the bus loop? I remember the presentation.
So there was a few options that were presented to the board.
Yep.
I think collectively the architect worked with Glenn, and they put together it looks like an option that works. as far as
Well, I'm sure it
the
works, but
parking.
which
Yeah.
one was decided on? Because I felt like we kind of left that, I thought we were still waiting to.
The one that was, if I could speak, the one that was decided was they eliminated the additional parking across from district office and just did
And did
the,
they cut into the north,
they cut,
south?
so when you enter, right before you make that left to go to district office, now you can make a right, go into the parking lot. Buses go straight ahead
For the security booth?
with a proposed future security booth.
Do we have a cost outline for this and where we fall within what we planned to spend in the budget, the bond, compared to what we're proposing? Because this conversation moved fast. I feel like we had the presentation and now we're submitting, and I thought the whole process was to make a decision together.
Well, we're not submitting till early July. Certainly, I know we're having a bond update in June with the finances and all that, so we will certainly advise the board the final project and the costs and associated with that.
Okay.
Ms. Roth?
I was on Saturday, was the junior class prom, and I just wanted to say thank you to a couple of people, Reagan Ware and Gina Bettenhauser, Miss Rubenstein, all the chaperones that attended. From the class itself, Brennan Gorman and Declan Barron, and also Gail Roth and Irene Pavinsky for their successful auction that funded part of the junior prom. The kids seemed to have a good time. Girls looked beautiful, boys looked handsome, and it was a beautiful day. So just wanted to say thank you to all those people.
I'm sorry, I could go back to this conversation we just had. With the plans that were submitted, are we committed to those now?
Nothing's been submitted to
Nothing's
SED yet.
submitted.
I like to just also, I'm not sure, can we maybe discuss?
I'll be happy to.
So every plan, so when we did the reconfiguration of the main office, the cafeteria, when the board isn't presented options for each of those. So maybe, can we explain why the options for the bus loop was made in a public forum?
Sure, can I?
Absolutely.
If that wasn't what the administrative, I mean, usually if the administrative makes the recommendation, then we review it.
To answer your earlier question, there was an update memo provided to the entire board outlining the choice, the dollars, the background. So that was a follow-up to the public presentation as to what the path was, giving the architect direction to finalize the planning process. That is one component for it. I'll be happy to send you the update memo a second time, but I'm certain that I sent it about six
I don't need the
weeks
update
ago.
memo. I think what I'm confused about is even over a year ago, we had a big presentation in the middle school auditorium about this plan, and my understanding was that the bond accounted or called for somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 for a paving type project.
No, there was two. So there was paving. There was paving you had from a previous
Resurfacing.
capital project, and then the
Transfer to
reconfiguration.
capital line had 2015-16 had funding in order to provide paving
Okay.
to the high school complex.
Okay, so maybe my confusion stems from the fact that some of the aspects of the bond are presented at a public forum, and what seemed to me to be three choices to be decided on by the board, and then we haven't heard anything, and I believe, I'm trying to find my notes here, that was in February. I could be wrong, but it was in the high school auditorium, and I recall having the three options presented in one I termed the Cadillac plan, like being very expensive, well beyond having pretty much sucked up any contingency dollars that we had left in the bond. Are we going with
No,
that plan, or
no.
something smaller than that, but still well beyond the intent?
I don't know if the final numbers are in, but we're not going with the, like I mentioned, we're not doing the additional parking near district office.
Sure, but we're now cutting through the woods, adding a
We were
loop.
cutting through the woods in all three plans to separate the entrances from drop-off and kids and staff to the bus loop. That was all three.
That was in the bond?
Yes.
Okay. I just recall seeing plans that were a lot less scaled than that.
I'll be happy to send the second version of it
And then
home
in
for you,
moving
listing
forward-
all of the
Sure.
plans.
And moving forward, what's the protocol or procedures we'll follow to have some parts of the bond presented in a public format with options, and then never hear, like, I didn't feel like we made a decision, it was just, here they are, and then,
I don't know if,
Behind the
again,
scenes.
not to discount what was done in the past, but that's the only time we've ever discussed any bond project in the public forum as far as giving the board options.
The reason why the parking lot had come to the board 3 years earlier related to relocating the tennis courts and finding a new home for the tennis courts as it relates to parking. There was a consideration to make the tennis court area where the public library would have had dedicated parking. So the parking came as part of that discussion, as well as when the donor project for the staircase to the Kootenella field was going to come up the center of that northern side of the hill, as to factor that into the parking complex.
Okay.
So that was the only time the parking lot had come up inside of that type of a discussion. And since then, it's been a topic to continually discuss in order to ensure that the public library needs are met, and then it recently came up related to the security concerns as to keep the perimeter as far away from the building as possible. The parking lot plan was presented.
So rather than wait until June, is it possible sooner rather than later to get the final determined plan?
I think the intent was to submit it in a memo to the update memo.
It's been done.
Oh, okay. The new plan.
The parking lot plan has been submitted to you, finalized, done. I want to say the third week of March. That was what the recommendation was.
We'll include it in an update.
And any costs associated if...
Everything was part of it. I assure you.
That was a big...
Assure you of that.
All right, will you resend that then? Go on.
I will.
Thank you.
It'll be taken care of.
Okay, great.
Third week, 16.
Statements from residents? Joss?
I also just had an update.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I responded late. I attended for Aaron Hunt, the curriculum committee, last Thursday, I believe it was. We had an extensive discussion regarding the digital database for curriculum development process called EduPlanet. There was a presentation for consideration of the use of that format. There was also, Alan gave the reported rollout feedback and a demonstration on that as well. Positive feedback was shared on the foundations training that was held at Miller Avenue, and there was a short discussion on the deepening of the implementation of the foundations curriculum. We were given an update on the implementation of the Raptor and the scholarship. Technology updates that have been done to all our buildings. If you've gone into a building recently, you've had your license scanned, so that's up and running. And the Eureka rollout, we were given an update on that. Mr. Poole led a reflective exercise and discussion on the committee's why, and the what and the how, and how to best follow through on the initiation of the ideas and initial work of the committee.
Thank you.
Just to add to the parking lot, it was March 20th that was sent out in a memo, and that is the exact same plan that we reviewed yesterday in the design meeting. So,
Okay. Statements from residents?
Lisa McMorris.
So it's not objective.
Hi. So as always, I would like to thank our administration and our Board of Education. One of the things that we often forget is that you guys are all volunteers. So I'd like to start with that because you're volunteering your time to our community, and it's a lot of time outside of your own home, as we all know when we're going to these meetings. I've been a huge supporter of this district. I feel right now we're in a really good fiscal position. Mr. Curry has done a wonderful job with our budget and our budget planning. And we're moving in a good direction. Our new change in leadership, I feel like we have making good choices for our community and for our students. I feel a little bit despondent in regards to the auditorium renovation. I sent an email to the Board of Education. I got a response back from Mike Lewis. Thank you very much for your thoughtful words. I did respond. I'm not a big fan of loud and crazy stuff going on at the podium. I don't think that it is the place for it. I think it belongs in committees. When you're discussing something, when you come out in public, you can come out with a unified voice. We're all one team, and we like to work together, like to come up with a cohesive plan. It's obviously we're doing great work. Mike Lewis, Henry Perez on the board, you were on the bond committee, you're on space and facilities. The whole point of that was that we wanted to see this carried to the end. And, I couldn't be more thankful that Rob Rose agreed to form a bond committee, because we never would be where we are now. At the time, that Board of Education really didn't think that we could pass something like that. It was said multiple times, and we realized that there was a need, and we answered it. And I want to thank you guys, because you guys are doing some great work. Reviewing plans that, you're on the board to review plans that I would look at it and just say it's a great place for the bathroom. That's about it. All of us decided to say, when we got involved, we knew that after it started, the bond was only covering half of what needed to be done in this district. And that's why we created the capital line, to help create a maintenance line, and we have a capital reserve line, because we have millions of dollars worth of work here. If you just walk around, you realize you're like, wow, we have more work to go, and we're going to have to take it piecemeal. My complaint this evening is in collaboration with our Fine Arts Department. At the May 13th meeting, in the minutes, we discussed a lot of things going on at that meeting. And one of the things that Mr. Perez pointed out is that we should really need a cohesive plan. If we're going to try to do this in part, we need a plan. It was obvious that there was more funding that was needed, and we're going to have to figure this out. Mr. Arcuri pointed out that we don't have a fine arts director. We have an athletic director that was able to oversee a lot of the athletic stuff. We don't have that in the fine arts department, and that's what we need to look into now. After the meeting, again in January meeting, I was comforted to see that maybe we were learning from past mistakes. However, I assumed our art staff was already informed of the current plan to read seats. In that meeting, we talked about sending plans up to SED. I assumed that we contacted our staff. Now, we're rushing things, we're trying to get things moving, and I totally understand that, but at this point, we don't have someone advocating for that in a cohesive manner. At this point, we're at summer 2018, then it was summer 2021, then it was 20, and then it was 19. We wanted the music staff at Wading River School involved, and we found out after the fact, when we were doing the renovations there, that we wanted them asked. We're changing their music room. They should be included in that discussion, because not many of us are musicians, or even myself, I'm not going to say that I would know what would go into that meeting. I'm here tonight to express my support in having our fine arts department involved in our decision-making process every single step of the way. I might want an upgraded dressing room, but that may not be what our art staff thinks is the best use of our limited funds. Sure, only one outlet works up there, and that's something we can fit into our plan, but that's something that we need to make sure. Without a fine arts director, we need to bring the fine arts team together for collaboration. I would have thought an ancient lighting bar falling into the orchestra pit would have been enough to light a fire under our butt, and to expedite the renovation plans. At this time, the bond, none of us were aware of just how antiquated the lights and sound were. Our kids were dancing around a hole in the stage. But luckily, the bond fixed that leak that was over there, and that was repaired. I never would have known that all the wonderful patches to our system that Tom Wagner does for our auditorium until I asked why we couldn't light a portion of the stage. Not sure what we'll do when he retires. But like our buildings and grounds guys, we have MacGyvers that work here, which are amazing. They figure things out, and Mr. Wagner is one of our MacGyvers. We need a cohesive plan for auditorium to have it done correctly the first time. This is not to say we don't have one. It's just that we haven't had a space and facilities meeting, and that's something that we should address, that we should have meetings every 2 months on the calendar so we can make plans for them. And we should make sure that if we don't have a director involved, that they are involved in those plans. We have so many things to be proud of. Our grounds are improving tremendously. Our new classrooms are beautiful. We have wonderful educators, and thanks to our transfer to capital funding last year, we now have new bleachers and a scoreboard that are gorgeous, and I support each of those transfer items to our beautiful field that is going to be used for years to come, support graduations, fundraisers. It's a point of pride. The auditorium that serves the entire school community should be a point of pride as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other statements?
David Lopez.
I would like to discuss additional funding to the budget. My name is David Lopez. I'm a junior here at the high school, and I'm involved with the arts and very much a supporter of our sports teams as well. The bond was passed a couple of years ago, and I believe an all-purpose auditorium should have been one of the first things to improve the high school, considering it's not just used for theatrical performances, but for assemblies and meetings as well. Believe me when I say that I'm very, very happy of the new improvements made to the sports program. It looks amazing. But that being said, I think it's time for the arts to be equally represented as well. My brother, Eric Lopez, graduated from this high school in 2013. He was 100% involved in the theater and arts programs here. That same SWR high school graduate went on to perform in sold-out performances of operas and musicals in venues such as the Sydney Opera House in Australia, London's West End, which is the Broadway of London, Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, Madison Square Garden, to name a few. He has also performed in groups that have performed for the Obamas, Pope Francis, and composers Andrew Lloyd Webber and Stephen Schwartz. He also represented our school when he was on American Idol in front of 10 million TV viewers. I'm saying all of this because he is a prime example of why we should take a look at our auditorium and encourage the arts, not just for theater and music students, but for all students. Things such as the 1970s lighting system that came with the auditorium is a problem because it is a fire hazard to the building and it eats up way too much electric, which is incredibly costly to the school. While we're on the topic of lights, a new LED lighting system, stage lighting system, would look 10 times better and save the district so much money in the long run. Broken seats in the auditorium are dangerous to people who sit in them and are embarrassing. Some of my friends have been seriously bruised from them, and it's only a matter of time before something worse happens. Sound absorbers and a brand new sound and microphone system could also save so much money for the district in the long run, rather than spending money on an outside company to mic our student performers. The bathrooms and dressing rooms are also hazardous because of the dust, mold, and lack of circulation in the air. New curtains and curtain tracks are also important in making our auditorium presentable and inspiring to our students. If the auditorium is not renovated as soon as possible, the money that has been spent in maintaining the current auditorium and risk of injury will increase exponentially with time. With all this being said, I would like to have the Board of Education allocate the funding to complete the project under the direction of music and theater staff. Thank you.
David, thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I'd like to invite you and a group of your peers to come to a meeting in my office with Mr. Arcuri to talk a little further about the theater program. And I really appreciate your passion. And last but not least, can we meet your brother?
He's willing to do a fundraiser here. So.
There you go.
That would be great.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other statements, Jess?
No.
Okay. Student and staff recognitions, none. Old business, there is none. Reports and reviews, women in science and engineering.
Right. I'd like to invite up Mr. Pugliese to introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Poole and District Office Staff, Board of Education. It's once again my pleasure to introduce some incredibly talented students. To simply classify them as women in science really drastically underestimates all of them. They are incredible young women, and I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Raccanello, who has had the privilege of advising this program. Yeah, guys, come on over.
Thank you, Mr. Palacci. All right, thank you all, first of all, for having us here tonight. And I would like to just say thank you to the administration for supporting us, to Mr. Poole, and for all of the Board of Education. Just wanted to go through a PowerPoint, Women in Science and Engineering, just to show you what we've done over the last 3 years now it is. And our seniors are the first that started out. So they had, each year that they do different projects. So the 11th and 12th grade students were together working on this project this year, and they'll tell you about, you know, their experiences too. And then the 10th grade students had a different project that they were working on. So these were just some pictures working with nanomaterials with the 11th and 12th grade girls, civil engineering and bridge building with the 10th grade group, touring the engineering laboratory, hydroengineering laboratory, with the 10th grade group. And this was the civil engineering design laboratory flume boat challenge. Again, the 10th grade group going on with this one. And they were building a retaining wall out of paper with this one. Learning about neuroscience and the brain. And they'll tell you about their experiences with this also. And then we had a science day at BNL a while ago. And this was a research vessel trip that we had taken, where the girls learned about water quality and also the flora and the fauna. This was a capstone event from 2017. Civil engineering earthquake simulatory lab. And then again, just to thank you all very much for all of your support. And we're thrilled to hear that we're going to be continuing the program and hopefully growing as we go along. So if the girls would like to just say something.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Alexandra Mealy, and I'm a senior at Shoreham-Wading River High School. This is my third and final year participating in Women in Science and Engineering at Stony Brook University. This year, I had the pleasure of studying material science under Lufei Chen, a doctoral candidate who welcomed us into her biomedical nanomaterials research laboratory at Stony Brook. A material scientist investigates the correlations between structure and property and uses that information to design or engineer a structure to produce a predetermined set of characteristics. We worked on two major projects this year, the first of which was isolating cellulose nanoparticles through a top-down form of synthesis and acid hydrolysis. The cellulose nanocrystals we produced can be used to make plastic stronger and more versatile at a low cost. Our second project was the exploration of the Stober process, a chemical process used to make silica microspheres. The silica microbeads we produced through hydrolysis and the condensation of TEOS with catalyst ammonia hydroxide are similar to those used in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. All right, now that I've science vomited all over you, I would like to summarize WISE in a way that's a little bit more meaningful to me and probably more relevant to you. Over the past 3 years, I was introduced to many different career paths in the extraordinarily vast world of science. Most of these career paths I really had no idea even existed prior. I was encouraged to ask questions not only about what we were doing in the lab, but about how to get a degree, how the world of science overlaps with industry, how to actually make money in the world of science, and how to deal with prejudice in a field dominated by men. I've acquired leadership skills and confidence that will stay with me the rest of my life, and the exposure I've received from WISE has encouraged me to pursue a minor in environmental science alongside my degree in musical theater at New York University, a venture that I probably wouldn't have dreamed of or expected if I hadn't had the opportunity to participate in WISE. Women in Science and Engineering isn't just a weekly field trip to a laboratory. It's a global community of women and girls who are working to break intellectual barriers while simultaneously shattering gender barriers. I would like to thank the Board of Education and Mrs. Raccanello for all of their encouragement and support through the Women in Science and Engineering program, and I do seriously hope you consider to expand the program.
Thank you very much.
Wow, how to follow that up. So Allie actually took a lot of my points, but she put them so eloquently, so thank you. My name's Emily Hassett. I'm the president of the WISE Club for our school. And like Allie, I've been part of it for 3 years now, and this is my last year. And it's been a real experience. And I don't know whose idea it was to start the WISE program at our school, but it was a fantastic idea. It's been the most influential club I've been a part of all of high school. Before I joined the WISE Club, I had never really considered science or mathematics as a field I would want to go into. I feel like it has this stigma behind it that it's very very unpassionate almost. Like when you think of the arts and the humanities, there's just a lot of passion and imagination in that. A lot robotic, yeah. So then I joined WISE and I met these amazing PhD candidate students that were so passionate about their work, and it really showed me how influential science can be on the lives of people and the lives and your own life. In particular, we had this one PhD mentor, Richard D'Arienzo, and his project was on gold star-like nanoparticles in breast cancer imaging techniques. And it was just fascinating to me. So really throughout WISE, I've learned to explore all your options and to really take advantage of science and mathematics. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Christina Wygonic. I'm a junior, and I've been in WISE for 2 years. And my points kind of overlap with theirs, that it's an absolutely amazing experience. And most of you don't know, for good reason, I'm a competitive gymnast. I have been my entire life. I go 5 to 6 days a week for 3 to 4 hours every time. And I found WISE important enough to me to miss that. I'm here right now. My coaches are probably upset I'm not there. I go to practice late every Wednesday to go to WISE and come back, and they are supportive of that because they know that I really care about my education, and I always come back with these amazing stories about what I've learned. I always knew I wanted to go into a science field, but I didn't realize how much the field actually offered until I joined WISE. Last year, I got to hold an actual human brain, and I want to become a doctor, so that was extremely fascinating. And that's not something you could have done at just a regular high school program. You know, I only could have done that through WISE, and it just made me even more interested and made me want to learn more. It's just been a really amazing experience, and I fully support the expansion of this program. And thank you for your time.
Hi, thank you so much. Lift it up. Sorry. Hi, I'm Julia Pachetsky. I'm a junior. I'd really like to thank you guys for expanding this program to what it is right now, and I hope you do continue expanding it. Unlike some of these other girls, I've actually known that science is something I've been wanting to do since I was a very little girl. It's always been my passion. However, my biggest concern and the always thing that held me back is, like that Ali mentioned before, the huge gender bias. I always felt so overshadowed. I've actually had people tell me women aren't smart enough to be scientists. And what this program really did was expose me to all these incredible women who served as role models to me, including our mentor, Lu Fei Chen, who just took something so complex and she simplified it to a point where not only I could understand it, but I could apply it to so many things. So I really thank you for the exposure to this. And every time I come home and I'm upset because, AP classes are hard. I'm in AP chemistry right now. Trust me, I know. I can't even imagine what I'm going to do in college. The thought of doing this for another 8 years drives me nuts. But every time I walk into WISE, and I'm in the lab, and I'm learning something new, it just makes me realize why I want to do this and why this is so important. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Holden, and I'm a 10th grader. So this is my first year in WISE, and it's just being in the program completely past my expectations. I was amazed at how much I got out of it. We started learning about neurology in the beginning of the year. We got to hold a real human brain. We dissected zebrafish, and we learned about projects that actual PhD candidates were doing, which was amazing. We got to use a program with MRI scannings that actual drug companies use. You would never get that sort of experience in a classroom setting. And I also knew that I wanted to do science like Julia, but I just never knew like what kind of science I wanted to go into. I figured like I'd explore that in high school, like with the classes I take. But like the WISE program has allowed me to explore that even further. Like in the spring we were doing civil engineering, which I just fell in love with, like all the labs that we're doing, and I look forward to learning more in the next few years and being able to expose myself to that sort of science. So I really hope you expand the program in the future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elise Casey. This is also my first year doing WISE. And I've also always wanted to go into a field of science, but I've always thought science as just chemistry, biology, just simple things. But WISE has really opened up my eyes to seeing that it's smaller things, but in those smaller fields, there's so much. And so it was an amazing experience. I did neurology and civil engineering with Jackie, and it was really amazing. I got to do things I would have never done in high school, and it was a really amazing experience. So thank you.
You know, you guys, you all thanked us after your little speeches there, but I think really we should thank you because you guys are so impressive. You spoke up there like you've been doing it for years and years and years, and you guys are awesome. You are awesome, and we wish you a continued amount of success and continue doing what you're doing to make our school proud. So thank you very, very much.
Rob, if I could, I just wanted to address the ladies. So, see, I don't do it as well as you guys did it. I'm a New York State licensed professional engineer, and I can say, you know, the things that I studied at the university level, obviously you guys have had the opportunity to look at that, and I think that's fantastic. I also want to repeat kind of what Rob said in terms of the success of this program. It's really obvious that it's because of you participating in it that's made the program successful. It's what you bring into it, and I see the passion that you guys all have for it, and continue that throughout your career, and I expect to hear great things from you in the future. Thank you.
You know, we kind of deal with this sort of the mundane issues of the district a lot of times up here, and it gets a little monotonous at times, but this makes it all worthwhile. So,
No offense to Brian.
No offense to the superintendent.
None taken.
But thank you very, very much. And Mrs. Racanel, thank you very much for your support as well.
Thank you also.
Can I just ask a quick question? How often do you guys meet, and how many members are
We have,
part of?
I'm sorry, I thought there was a
Did I
different
miss
slide
it? I'm
on at the
sorry.
front, but there are 4 senior members, there are 3 11th grade, and then there's 3 10th grade students. Yeah, the 12th grade students are Emily Hassett, she's here. Jacqueline could not make it. Allie's here, and Jordan couldn't make it. The 11th grade students, Julia's here. Caitlin couldn't make it, and Christina's here. And 10th grade, Elise Casey's here, but Elle and, Jackie Holden's here too, and Elle couldn't make it. They're on the front.
So when you're talking about expanding the program,
We were hoping to get at least one more per group, per grade level.
okay,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah, thank you.
amazing, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now back to the mundane issues of the district. Mr. Glenn O'Keefe and our budget presentation.
For the last time this year.
I hope.
We're not clapping yet?
Get an award for the last time I see it. Done. The word draft. Yes, that is a very tough act to follow. Thank you. That is the wonderful thing, though. Following that presentation shows just how important a district's budget is. Because without dollars, you cannot give those type of opportunities. The budget hearing, a required presentation. Hopefully, you have begun to receive the district's budget the newsletter inside of your mailbox within either Saturday, today, tomorrow. That's going to cover some of the items that we're covering here, but I think it's also important to point out that we are 2 weeks away from voting day. The budget highlights for 2018-19 maintains all current programming. Everything that was in the 2017-18 budget is part of the 2018-19 budget. It enhances student offerings. We are expanding the WISE program. We are expanding high school electives. We are expanding programs. Increases mental health support. Supports additional maintenance projects. Provides for one-time equipment purchases. Continues the implementation of additional security measures, all while lowering the tax levy by 0.5034%. Last year, the adopted budget was a 1.94% increase over the previous year's budget, or a little over $1.4 million. This year, the proposed budget is a 0.95% increase over the current year's budget, a little bit over $700,000 increase, expenditure to expenditure. The year-to-year support budget in a summary format, again, reflects an expenditure increase of 0.95%. It reflects a tax levy decrease of 0.5034%, state aid increase of 13.28%. That 13.28% is largely made up of the increase in building aid. I think it's important, again, to highlight that the district has been assigned as part of the New York State budget a large amount of additional building aid related to the completion of many of the bond projects to date. Other local revenue reflects a 3%, a little bit more than 3% increase. This increase is related to outside tuition. Inside of this category is where the district's pilot payments live. We have $2 million inside of pilot payments that the district relies on as a revenue source. Use of reserves and fund balance as part of a revenue source to balance the 2018-19 budget. There is a decrease in appropriated fund balance as well as a decrease in use of tax reduction reserve or prior year state aid. So we have basically reduced $690,000 worth of one-shot revenues in order to apply to this budget. So this is continually progressing forward to a reliance on no use of one-shot revenues in order to balance budgets. Continued application to offset rising expenditure costs from the Employee Retirement System Reserve, the Unemployment Reserve, as well as the Workers' Compensation Reserve. Any questions on the revenue budget or the expenditure budget? Proposed budget summary in three-part form. As I have mentioned to you, the budget from a state controller's position is separated in three different components. Each budget code inside of the line-by-line item budget has a operating component attached to it. So our operating component breakdown between the administrative, program, and capital reflects an administrative increase of 1.18% over 17-18, a 1.45% increase in program, and a decrease in capital, showing a reflective total expenditure to expenditure of 0.95% increase. Contingent budget facts. Contingent budget adopted by the Board of Education would be less than the proposed budget. For the district to be considered tax levy limit compliant, the 2018-19 tax levy would be, again, a reduction of 0.5034% less than the 17-18 levy. All organizations, including not-for-profit organizations using district facilities, will be charged a fee for using the facilities. This includes fields. The contingent budget must adhere to the administrative cap requirement. Required reductions in the, as it stands today, is all equipment funding must be removed from the 2018-19 proposed budget if we were to go to a contingent budget. The Board of Education must exercise its best judgment in determining what the minimum expenditures shall be within the limitations imposed by the administrative and contingent budget caps. As of today, the contingent budget for 2018-19 would be $74,100,201. The required contingent reduction related to equipment is $675,871. There are no reductions needed at this time to be compliant with the administrative cap. Any questions regarding a contingent budget? How does this budget affect your tax bill? The Board of Education sets the tax levy, now estimated at a decrease of 0.5034% over 17-18. However, some will likely see an increase in school taxes of less than 0.5034%, and some will see an increase higher than the decrease of 0.5034%. Why? Because your tax bill depends on more factors than the school district tax levy decrease alone. Again, please remember that our district spans two different towns. A portion of our district is in the town of Riverhead, the other portion is in the town of Brookhaven. In order to apportion the total tax levy across those two towns, there needs to be a calculation performed using the assessed value provided by the tax assessor's office of each of those towns, using an equalization rate provided by the Office of Real Property Tax Services in order to level those two different assessed values, and then come up with a proportional allocation to set that tax levy in each of those towns. In that process, everything is out of the district's control, with the only exception being the total tax levy. Any questions as to why the tax impact on a resident's tax bill could be different than the 0.5034%? Budget vote May 15th, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the high school auxiliary gym. All budget presentations to date, as well as the budget book, can be found on the district's website under the tab Budget. Any questions, feel free to contact my office. Feel free to contact me, Mr. Poole, anyone inside a cabinet. Everyone has been well-versed inside the process. Just to say thanks, I've been grateful to develop the 18-19 budget, and I think it's a great budget personally. Any questions? Thank you.
Any questions?
No. Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Okay, votes and resolutions. Can I get a motion to vote on the minutes of April 10th, 2018? Erin? Katie, second. Any discussion? Questions? Okay to vote. All those in favor of approving the April 10th, 2018 minutes? 7-0. Policies, second reading. Does anybody have, we're voting to approve of them, right? Okay, does anybody have any questions? Is it okay to take them as a block? Yes? Okay, so can we get a motion to vote on policies, policy 3280, policy 7132, policy 7133, policy 8211, policy 6123, policy 7241, policy 1221, and policy 1220. Erin, Kim, second. Any questions? Discussion? Okay to vote? All those in favor of approving the, do I have to say all those policy numbers again?
No.
All those policies previously mentioned? 7-0. Thanks, Jens. Okay. Resolutions. Do we want to take them as a block?
3 questions.
Okay. Do we okay to take them as a block, though?
Can we do 227 separate?
227 separate? That's the only one you want separate?
Yep, please.
Okay, 2227 separate. Okay, so can we get a motion to vote on policy? Can we get a motion to vote on policies number 1718-219 through 1718-226 and 1718-228?
So moved.
Mr. Iannucci, second, Ms. Hunt. Questions?
regarding regarding Resolution 1718-221. General terms and conditions. Glenn, there was nothing in there regarding insurance, but I don't know if that's part of a different form that just wasn't provided to us. So we're renting a bus. They're going on a trip. I didn't see anything with regard to who's got insurance coverage and who's responsible there.
Most Mr. Meinster to answer that question. Generally, though, we're insured and the bus company's insured as well.
Right, so is that part of their contract then, specific? Because I didn't see the contract attached to it either. I just saw the request for it, so.
This was an additional bus, so I'm going to have to follow up by looking at the original contract for the other buses, because this was just basically taking that one, adding one more bus to the list here.
That's
I
true.
can get you an answer
So it would have
to
been
that.
part of the other one.
And I'll get you
all
an
right.
answer to that. I'll send you that response.
Good, I just needed that clarification on
Absolutely.
what that was about.
No problem.
Good. Okay, 1718-222, which is the use of the fields. I know we walked it, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to find out use of the facilities here. We have bathrooms, concession stands. Is that going to be part of what's happening with that resolution? I don't know who's best to answer that.
Mr. Arcuri, could you give the details of what's part of the use of the Cutinella Field?
Yes, as they are going to have access to the Cutinella Field, they would also have access to the portable toilet facility that is currently inside of the parking lot. Because, again, we are giving this out to a school district booster club, so it is an affiliated organization. Assuming that was the case and the concession stand toilet room building was finished, we would open that up to them also. Now, if this was a for-profit outside organization where they would be getting charged for the field, there would be a fee in order to use the actual facilities on the field level in order to clean them, provide the supplies for them.
Okay, and just a second question regarding the AEDs then. What happens in a situation like this where a booster is using our field? Are they providing AEDs as part of it, or?
As part of the facilities use application, we are, there is a separate form that the person filling out the application declares that they will have their AED with them, as well as signing that someone will be certified to actually use it.
Okay, so that's even for internal boosters, they would need to provide it. That's almost considered, it is considered an outside.
But I'm going to give you the next piece. The next piece is our AEDs are also there. They are within the running distance that is well within the minimum required distance in order to get to our AEDs. They are provided what the access code is for that unit. So there's always an AED available to them, but they are responsible to have a person in order to administer it if needed. I want to also point out they are extremely self-explanatory. The ones the district purchased, anyone should be able to take it off the wall and just follow the steps. It walks you through step by step how to actually utilize the device.
Okay, and the ones that are in that are school district, they're permanently mounted out there right now?
They are permanently mounted, yes, sir.
It's on the west side of the concession.
So it's obvious. You can see them and they're
Yes,
labeled
cabinet.
and all that. Okay.
To
I haven't
reassure
been
you
out there.
on this, last year, the same event that you're asking about, I helped facilitate with the PTO.
Okay.
And both last year and this year, there will be an EMT on site. So in addition
good.
to the AED, there will also be that. But when I...
Are you going to sign up now?
What's that? No, I'm too old for this.
When I arrived, you'll be reassured to know that someone showed me where the AED was, what the code was, how to use it. So that's part of the process that's happening.
Thank you.
There is a very strong protocol.
Great.
Could I ask another question about 222?
Sure.
What is costing the district $1,000 to let somebody use our field? Excuse me if that's a dumb question.
It is not a dumb question. There are always groundskeeping needed in order to manage the turf field. It's called grooming the turf field. There is, I want to say, a large amount of trash that usually has to be dealt with after the type of a large event. But it's important to point out that we are required to include that as part of the resolution resolution language, was if that event did not take place, then we would need additional manpower in order to manage that. But it's the same people using it. It is a district-affiliated club, so it is the same taxpayers using their budget tax dollars in order to utilize their fields. So that's why there isn't passing this cost on to that organization, where if it was a for-profit organization, the district would not be bearing that $1,000 cost in order to utilize our fields. The organization would be reimbursing the district those costs.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just have one more. That's regarding 17-18-223, accept Wildcat Athletic Club donation. I know we haven't voted on it. I'd like to say thank you because I plan on voting yes, but I just wanted clarification. So it's a donation of a sign. I saw there's a drawing that shows that it's being mounted at the top of the existing scoreboard.
Yes, sir.
So we had a donation of a sign previously, and no, I'm saying there was a sign donated, or we put up a sign at the entrance a while ago. That sign, something happened to it, got destroyed. I don't know that we ever got clarification on what that was, but I'm not looking for that clarification. I just want to make sure that we're attaching a sign now to an existing structure. How is that being attached? I know it's being done by a professional sign firm. You know, are we going to be penetrating into the existing structure?
U-bolts.
Okay, so has our architect looked at to see if we're not going to get water penetration? I don't want to find out that the existing scoreboard goes bad because now we get water infiltration through any of the attachment
The
hardware.
good news is they aren't touching the existing
Post extended
scoreboard.
through.
They're going to clamp it around the I-beams that are on either side.
Okay,
and it's
so there's
going
no
to sit
penetration.
above the scoreboard.
Okay, yeah, so we don't want to ruin the existing scoreboard.
Nope.
And two, from a wind load perspective,
It's important to
Anybody
point
looking at
out, it is important to point out that those I-beams there were originally constructed for a scoreboard that was 18 inches taller than the new scoreboard that we put up, and there was an existing scoreboard topper.
Okay.
So we are actually reducing the wind load for that particular structure by actually putting a scoreboard topper up, and they're cutting off 18 inches of the top of the I-beams.
Okay.
So I'm actually reducing
I'm a
the wind
mechanical
load.
guy, I'm not a civil guy, but what I do know is total face area. So I hear what you're saying,
It is
it's
definitely
shorter.
smaller. It's definitely smaller.
Total face area?
Total face area is 10 by
Where'd the
18,
ladies go?
180, I'm sorry?
Said, where'd the ladies
Yeah,
go?
yeah,
Get the engineering ladies back in here. to
I
help
saw
Henry
some,
out.
I saw some
They
civil
left.
presentation.
They bailed.
Okay, well, I mean, again, my point is
it
just,
is
I don't want
a
to
smaller
ruin
wind load.
a structure that we have. I want to make sure someone looked at it.
It is definitely a smaller wind load. I could assure you that I myself looked at it in June when we purchased the new scoreboard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, okay to vote?
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
Are you done here?
With that.
I think it's 226 with the allowances. So there's remaining, the allowances were for $75,000, and we only used $72,683. So is there another resolution to accept a credit?
No, we are still in progress with that project. So for that particular building, that will remain out there at this time. As you could see on the Wading River allowance, it was $542 that went through as a chargeback to change order 6. This one is still an open item, and until it's closed out, that will stay as an available allowance dollar.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay to vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolutions 1718-219 through 226 and 228? 7-0. Can I get a motion of vote on resolution 1718-227? Katie, a second, Aaron. Any questions? Okay to vote? All those in favor of approving resolutions 1718-227? 6 opposed? Abstained? 601. And Mr. Perez, thank the Wildcat Athletic Club for the donation, and I'd like to also thank them, so thank you. There are no personnel items. Communications, Nassau Suffolk School Board Association, a year like no other, on May 30th. Anybody interested? What do you have to know about that, Janice?
May 24th.
Okay. We'll put it on the next meeting too, okay? Okay. Any discussion? Any additional?
No.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to talk about the auditorium. That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there was a comment about, I know we're trying to push for renovations and for funds, but there's also something discussed that's very serious. We talk about fire hazard and mold. So I want to just ask the district how we intend on reviewing those, and if we can get a report back to the board on those accusations.
Absolutely. We've taken some time to look at all those spaces, and we do have some alternative plans for that. Be happy to share that with the building and with the Board of Education in the future.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Any other additional comments from residents? Elisa? You good? Okay. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn to exec to discuss collective bargaining negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, SWORDA? Henry, second. Aaron, all in favor? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you very much.